Okay, and we are live. Hi, I'm Philip Lee. I'm with the Seward County Community College Marketing and Public Relations Office, and this morning I'm here with Luke Dowell, Vice President of Academic Affairs at Seward County Community College. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm great. How are you, Philip?
Good, thanks. Well, we finally finished last semester. Last finals were done on Wednesday. Grades were submitted supposedly on Friday. And
Yep.
so now it's over with. We've gone through a whole semester of the COVID and actually going through things. How do you think things went this past semester?
They went as well as we could expect. We were hoping at the beginning of the semester to go as far as we could by offering the online options to students. We feel like our student body does better with those face-to-face options, but we also wanted to make sure we kept not only our students, but also our faculty and staff and community safe. So we reduced the numbers allowed on campus, reduced the number of students allowed in classrooms, and had remote options. And so at the beginning of the semester, we were hoping to go as far as we could and without having to go entirely remote. And we made it the entire semester. So when you look at it from that standpoint, it was a resounding success. Now, was everything as good as we would like? Obviously not. There was challenges. There were, obviously things could have been better in a lot of different ways. So we're not saying that it's all golden and everything was great, but at the same time, from what we were looking at in August, we're pretty proud that we're able to do this, and that is a result of the faculty, the extreme work and problem solving and working through things that pop up that we've never had to deal with before. They did a great job of just jumping in and figuring out how to make things work and follow the guidelines and policies that we put in place to try to keep everyone safe and to keep our doors open. And they did a great job of that. Also, the resiliency of our students that just kept, rolling with the punches. And even when we've had several that have had to be out for a couple of weeks for quarantine, we've had some that also did test positive, but they have recovered and are doing well. And they continue to do, to figure out what to do to keep working and do the best they can to be successful. So our students are resilient. They did a great job. Our faculty and our staff did a great job as well.
You talked about challenges. What were some of the challenges that you think that you faced? I mean, obviously there's a lot of the obvious ones, but I'll sort of ask you, to describe those things. What were some of the challenges? And then I'll ask you also, what kind of feedback did you get from the students and from the faculty?
So I think some of the challenges were that this was not at all a normal semester where you could a faculty member could go in, and especially one that's taught before, just kind of has the plan in place that here's how things are going to go. Everything, even down to just taking roll in class, is different when you have some students remote and some students in front of you. Some faculty members modified their course so that they had students coming on campus Monday, and then a different set of students came in on campus in class on Wednesday, and rotated it that way in the hybrid model, which was good because every student had the chance to be face-to-face at some point, but it's still not the way it was done in the past. So they had to totally rethink how they designed their classes and what happened in the classroom. So just going through, teaching was a little bit different. They had to adjust to that. They had to think of ways the best way to do things and modify things, dealing with Canvas, dealing with Zoom meetings, and then you have to deal with students and that may not have access to reliable internet, may not have had the recommended level of device, a laptop to be able to access. So all those types of things were issues that both faculty and students had to deal with. And, and I'm sure there's several others that I'm not thinking of, but, just any little thing that, as I said, the one that was mentioned to me was even taking roll is a different, takes a lot longer than it would in a normal face-to-face normal semester.
Right. What about in terms of feedback, the quality of the education that came in? And obviously, you talked about the resiliency of the students as well as the resiliency of the faculty members who had to adjust. And without a doubt, I'm sure that there were changes from day one of the semester all the way and over there, and everything had to evolve. But let's just talk in terms about what kind of feedback you got. Do you think that students were happy with the education process that happened?
Well, I think that's that's probably too broad of a statement to make, because if we say that, then there'll be some students who say I wasn't. That's not me. Some of the feedback that we did overall, we got several heard from several students that felt like it did work as well as it could. Mm-hmm. But, in the surveys we took, we also did not hear from every student. So we know that there very likely could be some that did have struggles and did have concerns that either chose not to or were unable to return the surveys for one reason or another. So we're not assuming that, that everyone is great, but we did have some positive feedback that they felt like we did the best that we could with our guidelines and everything else. We did get several comments and a lot of feedback through those surveys, and we'll be pouring through those to find ways to help students out and to see what we can address, concerns that we can address and can improve on. So we'll be digging through those as well. Some in general, some of the things we still have students that do not have access to reliable internet. We do not we have some students who do not have reliable sources, and we have worked on some things, and students who do have financial aid can use financial aid to purchase a device from the bookstore. We're working on some other options for those students that may not have a reliable device that meets the needs that we need with our Canvas courses and the Zoom meetings and those types of things. So we continue to try to find other ways to help students out, and we want students to continue to let us know if they have concerns, so we can make sure they know what's available to them and how we can help them meet that need. I think another thing that we hear quite a bit, and this is probably more from the faculty side, it is a different type of thing and a different type of challenge than a normal face-to-face class to engage students. The things that you can do in a in-person class to engage a student is different than when they are on a Zoom meeting. So finding ways, and we, again, the resiliency and the professionalism of our instructors, they've worked at finding ways to do that, but that is still a challenge, I think, that they face, is engaging students and making sure that they are part of the lesson, part of that video meeting. And I think a lot of us that have participated more in Zoom meetings and Microsoft Teams meetings or whatever it might be, you'll understand that it's also a different thing on our end to be engaged in a meeting. It's easy to shut the video off and mute your mic, and then basically kind of not be, only be half listening and not really be engaged in that meeting. And we feel like that's, in some cases, that's what some students are doing, and we need to find ways to help them understand how important it is, and it's on their end. It's not something that necessarily that the teacher needs to do differently, but the student needs to understand that the responsibility lies on them to engage and to pay attention, to listen, to ask questions, to, it is a different thing of how I engaged to this environment than in a classroom, and we need to help our students learn that as well.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that you sort of touched on again is our ability to sort of help the students. I think that there's a lot of financial, a lot of scholarships, CARE Act money, that was out there that we've been able to help out and give out to the students. One thing that's really important, I think, that people probably sort of don't take for granted. You go down the hallways out over into the and by the library and such, you always have kids out over there strewn among the couches and such, and they're on their own devices, taking using our internet, which is great, and they're using those facilities, like you sort of said. If you have bad internet, and we've all been through there at home or whatever, coming out to the college and helping that out is fine, is great. And the fact is that we are open until 10 o'clock. And, trying to sort of, be a little bit more understanding to the kids if they need them, I think that's really important. I think that whatever resources that we can, that's available to them, they need to use it. And I think that one of the things that you sort of said too is it's about communication. They need to fill out their surveys, but also they need to talk to you. And I know that a lot that on both instances, you have students and faculty member coming to your office talking about things, and that's basically the only way that you know what's going on. Some of them is we all again this can be kind of really petty. Some of the things can be really serious work. But if you don't tell, you don't know, and right. Therefore you can't correct the problem if they're there. And I think that's really important for the students to sort of know that, as well as the faculty too. That if there's an issue, you guys need to come and tell us. And I know that a lot of times that Luke, the executive team with Celeste and Brad and Louie and Dennis, they're all doing 5 million things at once. And, sometimes you don't get it done right away. And people sort of, we're in a day of a society where we want immediate gratification. Sometimes that just doesn't happen. But I know that, we all listen and we all try to do the best that we can. And, the whole thing here is that we'll get to it and try our best to work through it. One of the things is also that I want to touch on is this semester is that, I've said this before, is that when we did this in the spring, it was sort of a complete rush job where we were just trying to get things done and just survive that semester. We had a summer, and now we've gone through the whole entire semester, the fall. And like you said, we've gone through it and we're able to survive it and actually get through from start to finish. But one thing that we've also noticed too is that things change completely. We always have, as things that we started may not have looked at the same thing at the very end of where we were. And that's because things have changed. We've had, COVID issues. Maybe we've had more. I remember the very first day I told you this was that we were kind of surprised that we had as many students as we did come back to be in person. We just didn't expect that. And we really put a premium on that. And I think that that's going to be really, really more important, that people really do like the in-person, the in-person attention that they get, the one-on-one that they try to get when they're in, rather than the Zoom meetings. But those are things that we've used the theater as a classroom, and we've used larger spaces. I'm sure that'll continue. That you'll figure out, well, we need to do this differently. Mm-hmm. So, as the changes have gone, how do you think that you guys have adapted? Pretty well to the situations that have been thrown here this semester?
I think so. I truly do, and one of the reasons that I say that is that, number one, we have been able to continue offering those courses and keep our doors open and offer those options face to face. And that's been a big part of what we wanted to do, is that we want to provide options, not just, okay, we're going to do this and this is going to have to work for you. I know that in some cases, may not, what we have been doing may not be ideal for everyone, both our faculty and our students, but we're trying to offer options and offer different opportunities for our students and everyone. So I think it has been. I think the other thing that makes me feel like we have adapted well is that we have not had large numbers of cases on campus, and we have not had evidence where it's obvious that it is spread on campus. With very few exceptions, the majority of the cases very clearly identify that they contracted it somewhere else off campus. So the fact that we don't have evidence of widespread spread of COVID on campus, I think, is also something I look at to say that the guidelines and the restrictions that we did put in place are effective and are working. And we're going to continue to improve on those and keep those in place. But we feel that if they did not work, then we would have had evidence of widespread contraction of that on campus, and we haven't seen that. And in talking to county health experts, they agree with that and feel like what we're doing is working as well. So, we're constantly in communication with them, not making these decisions and calls on our own, and we're working together with our community to do what's best for our community, our students, our employees. So, yeah, I feel like we've adapted well, and I say that, with knowing that tomorrow could bring something new or something different or a change that we need to adapt to as well. We're hopeful, seeing news stories over the weekend of the first shipments of the vaccine are heading out, and that makes us hopeful. But we also know that is going to be a process, and that we'll need to keep our eyes on things. But that doesn't mean that things go back to the way they were immediately. We're going to look at we're going to continue to work with our health providers in the community and talk about, okay, what is the best thing to do? And, we've already stated what our goals, our plans are for the spring. We're going to keep that in mind and keep those in place, and then continue to watch the situation and adjust if needed.
Yeah, one of the things that I'd like to say too is that the students have been really great about this. We have, they've been really, I believe, have been that we've been really, really good in terms of being sick, and when they've tested positive or they've known, they've quarantined, and they've done a good job of that. I think so. That they've actually listened and cared, and we told them to stay away, and that then in that case, the communication that we've worked with and the faculty and students have been really good, I think.
Yeah, and that's another thing. When you have more of those students who are quarantined or sick and cannot come to class, then it's not only the class, but if there's exams, if there's labs, if there's clinicals, and some of those things are not really very easy to make up, or if not impossible to make up. But our faculty have done a great job of finding ways to make it work. They have, I think they've gone above and beyond to, okay, we'll address this, we'll move this, do this way. A lot of them have had to adjust their policies that, about makeup work to be able to make it possible for students, if they did get sick, to be able to make things up. So, yes, it is very good, and it was vital that our students and our faculty were, did follow that advice and stay home when they needed to. But that also meant the faculty had to adjust and be flexible to make that work out. And from everything I've heard, that's happened as well. So, I really applaud both our students and our faculty for everything they've done for this semester.
Okay. So now, as we ended this the fall, we're going to be heading into the spring, and obviously, you know that there's a little bit of break between, you know, so we can recharge. But obviously, you know, everyone is still thinking about how can we improve on the semester. Obviously, one of the big things is that we will be going completely remote for the first week of the semester. There'll be no in class, no in-person classes for that first week, and then the second week will start up again. And a lot of that has to do with safety issues and trying to get things. And I know that there have been some concerns about some people. Well, you know, if that's the case, they're going to be behind already. But I think that really one of the things is that while there's always that concern, and because of how we are as in human nature, we like things to be a certain way. But that's just sort of the way it is. Where the fact is that it's about safety. It comes down to be completely about safety. We want to think that everyone is going to follow the rules and be over there, but you just really don't know. We've got, you know, 80 to 120 kids coming back from the dorms that first week, and they've got to be quarantined. And you know, if they're not, and something happens, then we lose more than that 1 week. We lose like 2 weeks or three, and so better safe than sorry.
Right, and there's so many things coming back in January that are kind of moving parts, if you will, things that we can't control and that we don't know. Um, we were advised by the county health officials to quarantine our dorm students who are coming back, and and we do have opportunities, and we're working on ways that we have a testing protocol to use with our dorm students. But you also have a lot of commuting students that are coming back on campus for the first time, and you know, who knows if they were exposed over the break and things like that. Plus, you know, looking back at August, we had a lot of students that weren't quite sure, you know, what was expected of them. Do I come to class this day? Do I not? Had a lot of students on campus those first couple of days. So another one of the reasons we decided to go with this is, you know, we felt like this, you know, this reduces the population on campus. Our faculty are going to be on campus, but reducing the number of students on campus, you know, hopefully, you know, prevents any spread coming back from the break. If there are anybody that maybe was exposed and hasn't started showing symptoms yet, this gives a little bit of time for that to you know, to show itself, so students know if they're going to be healthy to come to class or not. But the other part was by you know, everyone getting on remotely, the students can find out what's expected of them in those classes, who comes on what days, or how that is all going to work out. And, you know, they can get that kind of in place. We can find out if we need to find bigger rooms, those types of things, you know, before, you know, they just show up and they're here and we got to do it, you know, in the next 5 minutes. So this will help us, you know, kind of prepare for when we can open up and, and go from there. I know it's not ideal. I know that, you know, that there are concerns with that, but again, the faculty, you know, we made the decision and let them know. The faculty have a little bit of time to prepare and figure out what that's going to look like. We'll have a week or have a couple of days that they'll be on campus even before classes start, to talk about that, to prepare. And we have some, you know, in our normal professional development meetings, we have some things lined out to kind of help all of us, faculty and staff, together with some training, with some things to keep in mind to, you know, not only how to do things better and take care of our students, but also take care of ourselves. And that's just as important at this time, as if we are, you know, everybody is going above and beyond, but if we are neglecting ourselves and our families in the process, then that is not the situation we want either. So, you know, we're trying to make sure that we are taking care of our Stewart County family and supporting them and taking care of their families. And, you know, and then that allows us to take care of our students. So, So that's the plan for now. Obviously, we're going to be looking at the numbers. We're going to be in contact with the county health officials and adjusting if needed. That's the other thing that has been great about our faculty is, we've told them to be ready to jump or to make a quick shift to remote if needed. Maybe on an individual basis because that individual was quarantined, or on a school-wide basis. And so, that's still out there. We may have to shift what we plan to do, and we're ready to do that. But right now, I've said it before, and I think it bears repeating. Our goal is to get students in our classes as soon as possible, but as safely as possible. So trying to find that balance of trying to do both the best we can. That's kind of what guides a lot of our decisions and choices, and it will continue to do that moving forward.
What are some of the things that you've learned? And I've said this earlier, was that, we've sort of evolved every semester, learning things, doing things, from the spring to the summer to the fall, and now to the spring again. What have you learned from last semester that you think that you guys can improve on or need to do? Or the fact is that, we just need to sort of stay the course and do what we've been doing and just do it better?
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything brand new that we've learned. I think it's a reinforcement of things that we already knew. And one of those is that student engagement is the key. And, to a certain extent, faculty need to know strategies to engage students. But it's also a responsibility that lies with the student. That sometimes it's up to them to make sure that they stay engaged and that they don't let their mind wander off or make choices that that kind of keep them out of that, because to be successful in education, you need to be engaged for it to mean something and to really be applicable to a student, to anyone. They need to be engaged with it. A lot of the lessons that I learned in my own education were not necessarily the content, but the things I learned about myself, about other people, working with other people, and how, kind of how to navigate this world. Those are some of my most cherished lessons from my education. But I wouldn't have learned those if I wasn't engaged in that. If I wasn't there and present and taking advantage of the opportunities I had, I would not have learned those lessons. So that was, and then a few times maybe when I wasn't engaged, I learned from that too. I missed out on some things because of that. So there's, so some of those things we've always known that's important. That's been a priority of ours, is student engagement. Now with a lot of remote classes and remote meetings and things like that, it just brings that to the forefront. And yes, it may look a little different, but it's still student engagement. And how do we help our students learn their part of it? And how do we, as faculty and staff, provide opportunities for those students to be engaged? Another one that we know, it's not a new thing, is communication. It's so vitally important. And it's vitally important now. And not only communication, but direct communication. So many times we'll say, well, I told so-and-so about this. Okay, but did you talk to your teacher about it? A lot of times we can clear things up a lot faster by going directly to the source. And we may assume that they don't want to hear this, but I'll tell you that our faculty do want to hear if a student has a concern or if something's not clear, because so many times we do everything we can, but if it's not working, the only way a faculty member is going to know it is if the student says, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help with this?" And majority of the time, then that can lead to and start the process of addressing that right away. So we want to continue to stress how important it is to have a contact and have communication and a connection with your instructor. It's okay. Our instructors want you to communicate with them and to reach out to them and everything. And that is, that's part of the process and part of helping them do the best they can for the student and everything else. And then The rest of us are here to support that when it needs to go beyond that level. But that's where it starts. Direct communication is where it begins. And I think all of us understand that, hey, this is not ideal, but uh, here's what we're doing, and here's why we need to do it this way, and let's work this out and figure out how to make it work for everyone.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that we've said from the very beginning, and we need to keep on continuing to stress, is that they need to check their email. They need to go into Canvas and check all their communications to find out what are things going on. And if they haven't gotten something, they need to reach out to the instructor as well. If say, well, I didn't miss this, I didn't see that. Well, maybe we have a wrong email, but it's important for them to know that they've got all the information corrected, right? And sometimes, maybe your email is not working or whatever, to have alternatives. Maybe you need a text number, or maybe you need another email address, just because. But your main focus or your main way to communicate will be through your student email address and through Canvas. And one of the things also that I want to sort of touch on is that if they need to get in touch with the faculty member, if they don't know what's sort of going on, as you said, Luke, the faculty will be here starting on January 5th. Yes. That's Tuesday. And they will be here. Get in touch with them. If you need to come in, please make an appointment first before you come on down. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to turn you away, but that way that they have an idea to give you the specific amount of time that they need to. If you walk on in, and let's say there are 4 different people in front of you, you may not get to see it, and that doesn't help anyone. So One of the things is to communicate with them, make appointments with them. Are we going to have students on campus out of that? I know that we had talked about this a little bit. If people want to use certain resources, obviously we don't want to turn them away, but at the same time too, the reason why we're doing what we're doing that first week is to make it as easy as possible for students and to be as safe as possible.
Right. So there's going to be a couple of locations that are going to be open, and we'll advertise where those are and what the parameters and times are. Okay. Where a student can come in and sit down and use the Wi-Fi to access the course that they have. Mm-hmm. And so so there'll be some opportunities for that if a student does not have reliable Wi-Fi at home. If a student needs to visit with one of our offices on campus, we ask that they call and or email, and if they can take care of whatever needs to be done that way, we'll start with that. But then if they do need to come on campus, we'll ask them to set an appointment to come in when they can, so that not only does that limit the number of students on campus, but it's also going to save time for the student too, so that you don't just have to come in and then have to wait and wait for them to have time, but you have an appointment, so you know when to come in, take care of business, and then go on and save time for the student as well. So yes, we are going to be, we're going to be open and accessible, and we will be here to help students. We do ask you to call ahead, and then if you do have needs, especially Wi-Fi, things like that, we are currently working this out so that we can work out those guidelines and everything, so that we can provide those opportunities for students.
Okay, one final thing one topic that I want to just touch on. You're on the COVID-19 response team, and we're going to do some changes coming up in the spring. One of them is going to be testing. That we're going to do more testing, more randomized testing. Students are going to be doing a little bit more testing as well, obviously with athletics and such. The things that could be happening is that numbers could be suddenly going up because you're tested and not being asymptomatic. And I think that one of the things is that, and I think that this, is that people shouldn't start freaking out or start really, really panicking if that numbers go up. It's the amount over there that, the more information that we have, the better we really are. Would we really rather not know that, that there were 100 kids out over there that suddenly were asymptomatic that we just didn't know? It's better that we know and get those information. And the reason I want to sort of bring that up, because I think it's important. when people go in and next semester they come in and our numbers sort of spike, and people, well, they were doing a hard job. They were just sort of just trying to hide everything. And that's not the case. We just decided to take a more safe approach. I, really do appreciate President Bennett, and I'm sure you do as well, for, putting in the COVID response team for actually taking that kind of path out of it, because it would have been really easy not to do this and not really care and sort of just hide this all and just sort of, but we really want to take the next step. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I think too, it's also important to think back of where we were in August and the resources that we had available to us. And at that point, testing was not something that was available and something that was readily, ready to go. Another thing that we did not do in August was, screen everybody coming in and those types of things. We did ask everybody to kind of monitor and screen their own symptoms, but we did not require that. And those are two things that, as you said, that are going to change here in the spring, because now we do have access to some of those things. The CDC has recommended that colleges can, that it is a helpful thing to have a random testing on campus. Some of the data that we looked at when we were talking about that was a college that was able to do some testing in the fall. They identified 9 different times that a person tested positive who was asymptomatic. When they found that, they tested people that were around them, found out that they were, several of them tested positive as well. And then they were able to quarantine the rest of the group or whoever it was that those students or those people were around. So they felt like there were 9 different times that their testing, stopped a potential outbreak. And so, if we can do that, if we can stop a few people from getting this, because, that's one of the scariest things to me about COVID-19 is you just can't predict who is going to just, get over it really quickly and who is just going to really be hard on. And so I don't want anyone else to have it. And if we can prevent some people from getting that, then we felt like that was worth it. And we felt like it's another thing we can do to protect our campus and our community. We'll be using an app that we ask everyone to, our students to basically monitor their symptoms and then check in on that app, stating what their symptoms might be. And I feel like this is a reminder for students to do the thing that we expected them to do in the fall, but by having that daily reminder there and then giving them the communication, if they are showing symptoms, that immediately this is what they can do, and then we have people that will reach out to them and help them out, can just kind of improve what our process was in the fall, where we asked people to do this, but you're just kind of hoping that they remember and everything. So just kind of puts a few more things in place to continue to to keep everyone safe and to follow those guidelines that we have, and give students and faculty and staff, a little more peace of mind that we have a few more things in place to keep them all safe. So.
Right, and we're going to have air purifiers that we've picked up. We have cleaners that we have now. And the thing is that, like we said, is that you have to earn our trust. And I think that we are doing everything that we can within our power and limitation. I'm glad that you really brought that up, is when people are like, well, why didn't you do this? Well, we just didn't have the funding for it. And unfortunately, things take money, and everyone has been really hit hard, and you can only do so much with what you have. And I think that we've really shown that we've done a really good job with that. But the whole thing here has to be trust, and how the parents, and we've talked about this on the radio and other media sources, is that when students come here, their parents are looking towards us, that we're doing everything that we can within our knowledge to really care about your students and making sure that they're safe. Absolutely. I don't think that there's anyone who can go in here and say like, oh, they don't care. we
Right.
do as a college. We're trying everything that we can to be safe and to make sure your students, that trust is amazing because you're entrusting your students, your children to us.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're doing, that's the whole thing with any kind of business over there. When they're open, you're really hoping that they know what they're doing and they're just not open for selfish reasons. You know, like we need to be open for a lot of different reasons. One of it is obviously to help your students, to help the students over there continue their academic success in future, because that's where his life goes on, doesn't stop. But while we want them to do that, we also need them to be safe. And that's just so important for us. And we want the public out over this trust us. I know that you can't please everyone, and everyone's going to say, oh, we say something. You know that, Luke, that everyone will say, well, what can you do in this? Well, you know, if we were trillionaires and we had all these endowments and we had everything, yeah, you know, we probably could build an annex, a tent out of it, and just have students out of it, but that's just not feasible. And, you know, we are doing the best of it. And I think that that's really the case. As we get more things, we do more testing, we do little things at a time. We have a grant for a Zoom room, which is great right now, that we can actually do more things with it. And so I think that we're moving forward. And I think that, you know, the bottom line is that we're doing the best that we can within what we're being offered and what we have, and that's to our availability. And I think that everyone, I think that, again, really you'll agree, is that everyone at this college is invested in everyone succeeding, not just academically, but also physically in life.
Yeah. And, you know, we've utilized, you know, the Spark funds, a lot of the things that, you know, that federal government's made available, the state government's made available, our county has come through and supported us. So, you know, there's a lot of different things going on here to help all of us through this, and we've taken advantage of those, and we really do appreciate all of that, and we are committed to, you know, using those best possible way, most efficient way we can. So yeah, we. You know, again, it's not anything that we wanted to be to have to be here, but you know, we made a commitment that we are going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. We're going to get through this stronger, and that doesn't mean just as a college. That means as a community. And we know that not everyone agrees with everything we do or everything that is going on, but the one thing that I stick to is that this is a together thing. This is an us thing, and it doesn't matter if we agree or don't agree. I'm pulling for everyone else, and I'm doing the things that, you know, bringing up the things, and we are looking at those things to support our community and our students and everyone in it. So I truly believe that we are going to get through this stronger, and we just got to find ways to work together and keep finding that common ground and move forward.
And just to sort of wrap this up, we still are taking students, and you can still enroll for the spring semester.
Absolutely.
We will be open here until the 22nd of next week, and then we'll start again opening on the 4th, which is a Monday, and then faculty members will be here on the 5th. Yep. We may not be completely available during that week because we do have professional development going on.
But anyone can contact us and get a hold of us. And even when campus is closed, especially those students who have things set up and have applied, especially our returning students that know the classes they need to get into, you know, they can still enroll over that break. Mm-hmm. You know, we do encourage students to talk to their advisors to make sure they get in the correct classes. But, you know, the enrollment is open online for students that know what classes they want. So if they haven't done that yet, we encourage those students to enroll as quickly as we can too.
Right. And one thing that we've also seen too is enrollment has gone up, you know, not as significantly over since pre-pandemic, but that's to be expected. But we've sort of seen a gradual increase, and people are sort of believing us. And I just want to say to the students out over there, don't wait on your academic future. Right. You know, it's time. We're moving on. We're doing the best that we can. You can't You need to overcome your fear. We know that there are a lot of other things that go with that too, such as work and such. But you know what? We can work with you, and that's really important to know too. Is that if you have any kind of, well, if there are academic or financial struggles going on with you, we can work with you. And I think that's always what we've done, even before the pandemic, is that's one of the things that the community college has been great about, working with the student to try to make things work for them.
Right.
All right, Luke, you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. I know that you're going to be one who are going to be needing to recharge your batteries before we start on again.
Yep, we will do that, and we'll be ready to go.
All right, Luke, again, I really appreciate taking all this time to go through things. And again, we'll see you next semester.
Thanks, Philip.
Okay.